I have been researching conscientiology since 1998. I am a volunteer since 99 and a teacher since 2000. I was there in São Paulo helping in conscientiology. And then I decided to change to Foz do Iguaçu. And then due to my experience as a volunteer for many years, I have perceived that it was quite important to share this view that we have from UNICIN with the entire community. Because we know that many volunteers are not aware of the entire structure of UNICIN. And eventually they also don't understand quite well what is the function and how UNICIN works. So I would like to start talking about the constitution of UNICIN. UNICIN was created in 2005 because Professor Valdo realized, due to the number of consensus-centric institutions in the community, we know that we all started with IIP, and then with more works, more researchers arriving, we felt the need to advance on studying other specialties. And then Professor Valdo, Instructor Valdo, perceived the need of creating an institution that would have the goal as keeping everybody together and keeping all the institution focus and the conscientiological institution and conscientiological work. So because he realized that as we all work in different institutions, we end up having our view more narrowed into that specialty that we are researching. So that was the principal goal of UNICIN. UNICIN wanted to connect and to make conscientiology a unique institution. So in 2004, many volunteers had been creating the basis of the UNICIN. And then we also have inside the documents of UNICIN, we also talked about the world state. So UNICIN does not impose. And the focus of UNICIN is create an environment to deliberate inside every conscientiological institution what is the best way to follow through the activities. And then in November, 2 years after our intermissivist encounter, we know that for us that who study the conscientiological paradigm, I cannot neglect this paradigm, this paradigma. So then in Strasbourg, we felt a connection with the ampliation, we felt an international connection with the entire planet, and then we realized that it was important to open all this information for the entire planet. So I I can say that I have been feeling very embraced for the team that today is a bit bigger than usual. And I am counting now with folks from Isaac and also with Djalma in this transmission. So I already told you how this idea were started. And UNICIN is an integrated structure with ONU, United Nations. Like we have, for example, we have a general secretary, and the consensus-centric institutions. Today we are 24 consensus-centric institutions. And it's important to realize and to know what is the goal of a consensus-centric institution to get associated with UNICIN. The main idea is every consensus-centric institution be able to be part of a group code who is not so far written, but we can consider as a CGC, a group cosmoethic code inside our researches and our investigations that we have been holding so far. And it's important to reinforce the disbelief principle as well. So we want to reinforce, have your own personal experiences. This is a prophylaxis to many manifestations that we have been reproducing in our past lives. So we don't want to talk, we don't want to understand as a dogma, the disbelief principle as a dogma, not at all, but we want to reinforce is the questionings, because we are a community made of researchers, made from people that are interested on knowing more. And whenever we keep this invitation, we are reinforcing the advance of the leading edge relative truth from the self-research, from the self-conscientiality. So the more we expand our paradigm, the more we understand the conscienciological paradigm, we would be able to reinforce the principle of conscienciology. And this is also the principal object from the group cosmoethic code. So it is important to understand that every institutions that are associated with UNICIN, they are non-profit institutions. And they are universalists who aim the research inside the conscienciological paradigm. Of course, every institutions have its own research, but the conscientiological research is the base for every one of those institutions. So even if we don't have a clause, a written clause, but we do know that we all here, we all that are part of UNICIN, we all practice research. So now we have another three specialities: extra, parapoliticology, and other two. So we aim to amplify the research among all the specialities. We know we can count with a helper, function helper, which is, and we also want to reinforce that one of the consignas from our code is act as a nonprofit institution. So the conscientiological volunteer is based in the conscientiological bound, the conscientiological connection. So our main goal is to be able to give it back, to retribute back what we have learned in the intermissive course. So we are very grateful for the opportunity to be volunteer to act, to work as a volunteer in a conscientiocentric institution. We know that with that we are able to reinforce another item from our code, which is anti-gurulatry, meaning that we have the capacity to spread the scientific investigation all over, avoiding followers, and reinforcing that we want advanced as folks, and we want to reach the anonymous possibility, no, as a volunteers in the future. And I would like to reinforce the structure of the all of our institutions, because we wanna make conscientiology a Pyrrhine for the future. The ideas, we wanted that the ideas want to stay for the future and forever. And this is the work of all the institutions. So when you have the possibility to coexist with a science proposer, it is obvious, it is quite natural thinking that we need to restructure after the deactivation of the body of this proposal. And I have been perceiving that we have been having time enough to reinforce the conscientiological science. So the work had advanced. We still are receiving people moving moving here from Foz do Iguaçu, from other places, other countries. We have been developing super-institutional projects. We are also aiming, we have already decided a new location for the cultural mega center. Another aspect that I consider as very important, it is a non-monetization. Non-monetization. Whenever we talked about the volunteer, whenever we say that we are a conscientiological volunteer, we want to reinforce that we do not receive money with conscientiology science. So the financial motivation might block the neutrality from the investigator. So the clarification task, we know it's not a sympathetic, a nice task. Sometimes we will need to positionate ourselves towards the society, towards the truth that are here and that are predominant in the intraphysical society. So whenever we talk about non-monetization, we are reinforcing that we could do, and you might do the clarification test despite money. Today, especially today with due to the pandemic, we are developing a lot of online activities. Have courses that are connected with self-help, a series of activities and lectures, webinars and lives that would be presenting solutions or strategies for this delicate moment that the entire community, the community of the planet is living, now is experiencing. And of course, we know that we might risk being more sympathetic, more nice, more pleasant, and this is not our task. Our task is bringing new weapons, new leading edge relative truths. So this autonomy in the process of not depending the money allow us to acquire better freedom, to be able to deal better, to talk better, and to spread better the clarification task among the planet. So we are not talking about the volunteer people receiving money or not receiving money. We want to reinforce that the conscientiocentric institutions are non-profit. So you see today how important it is to integrate the entire community. When in March, in the month of March, when the pandemic started, we got very concerned with the financial sustainability from the entire conscientiological, from all the conscientiological institutions, because all the activities as for example, CIEC campus that has many labs, complementariums and so far. So the activities, they were based on being present in the institution, and with the pandemic that was impossible, that became an impossible possibility. And in this moment, we created an integrated action. in order to obtain financial resources to support the institutions. Why? Exactly because of that, because all the institutions are non-profit, and they reinvest all the resources in the conscienciological institution process. So the financial results, they are reversed 100% for the conscienciological institutions per se. So all the conscienciocentric institutions, they are born with with a non-profit goal. And this is for this moment that we are living. And the fact that we are being able to maintain the sustainability, they sign for us that this is important. So we must not deviate the goal from the consensus-centric institutions because of that. And this is one experience that we are coexisting and applying. And I consider that all those experiences, they are going to amplify the possibilities. Another aspect that we had adopted, it's a non-judicialization. Of course, we don't want to say that eventually one specific judicial action might happen, but we are not in favor of that. We are structures that had been established in a very legal way inside the community, inside the society. Therefore, we need to establish in a legal and a judicial point. Nevertheless, among our relationship, among the volunteer relationship, the connection is a conscienciological connection. Our principal connection is the conscienciological boundary with our existential program, with our proaxis, which we have been processed and programmed in our intermissive course, which is strictly associated with that main idea. And any divergent that we have or that we might have, we need to reinforce and we need to acquire all the tools that we have. We acquire all the tools that we have inside the structure of the community in order to be able to solve all the problems and using cosmoethical dialogues. Therefore, we will be avoiding the condition that is not good, even in the intraphysical society. Because whenever we create a process, whenever we judicialize the situation, we transfer to a third person the solution, a solution for something that we had been creating among our relationships. So we understand that this is a part of our intolerance level, meaning that now I am placing in the hand of state the solution for the problem that I created. And this is against the conscienciological paradigm. So we understand the seriaxiology process. We understand that all this scenery, all this theater, which is create in the intraphysicality, it is made for us to recompound our relationships and to develop interassistance. So for us in the ICCC, that is a specific sign who is connected with our main task, main assistential task. So I don't reinforce the process, the judicial process, where we have a person who wins and a person who loses. So those principles or those clauses that are part of our group cosmoethic code, and as we are, for example, associations and the consensus-centric association and institutions, they get associated with UNICIN, means what? Means that at the moment the consensus-centric institution gets associated with UNICIN, they are agreeing, they are in agreement with all the clauses that we reinforce, that are our base, in order to amplify the dissemination of the conscienciological science. Therefore, whenever one institution is associated with UNICIN, they develop voice. They can have voice in all the councils. So it's a volunteer, the specific volunteer that is going to have a voice, that is going to be able to to establish the commitment who is signed at the moment the institution get associated with UNICIN. So then we are not going to have only consensus-centric institution, but we are also going to have consensus-centric organisms. They might not be legal, but we have a few commissions that are part of the issue of the keeping the community alive. I can mention here the Interassistential Technological Commission. It's a commission who is connected with UNICIN, with many volunteers connected with the technology area that help the entire community giving support in the technological area. Mainly in most of the activities, we have been able to follow the entire digital transformation that the community has been crossing to. So using the specific tools, using security measures, developing security measures, the softwares that are able to be used in a free or low cost in order to help all the institutions. They are there giving all this support in ICNet, which is an important software that we have been able to install and who is able to help acquiring a more a whole better view of the conscienciological, and we are also launching the marketplace soon. You will also be able to become part of this launching, but you also can be able to access. So this technological community is not a consensus-centric institution, but it is a structure from the ICCC. So we call this consensus-centric organism. Now I will be talking about the structure of the UNICIN per se. So as I mentioned before, we try to mirror the United Nations structure. So we have committees and we have a general secretary. This is a function that I can say that act in various moments. So the general secretary, as the name say, acts as a secretarian. So we can consider in terms of hierarchy condition. The function is to be able to attend all the demands from the consensus-centric organisms, being constituted or not. So this availability of taking care independent of the structure that we are taking care. Therefore, for me to be able to take care of the community, I count with a team. And the team is structured in communities, in committees. So we have the consensus-centric committee, who is the committee who takes care of the flow of the groups that organized as consensus-centric institutions. So the consensus-centric committee will give a support, will follow and give a tutorial for the group to become a consensus-centric institution. And also, this committee will take care of consensus-centric institutions who are already established. So the consensus-centric institution might need to review their meritocene. They might need to review the specialty or readjust the specialty, readjust the assistential public. And then the institution is going to look for the specific support, for institutionalized support. We have the administrative committee that is going to take care of the structure of UNICIN. So as an institution, we have a financial area, technological area, and other areas. So this committee takes care of all the areas and also gives a general support to the general secretary towards. So this committee also takes care of the schedule and follow through the activities. For example, takes care of the online areas. And this committee receives all the the specific issue or the specific need of the community. So if you have a specific if you have a specific demand for that, you might consider sending one email for the area to take care of a specific subject. Let's suppose you have a suggestion to do, a critic to give. I want to report a specific situation that happened. So this is the main door who will be able to filter and to be able to embrace and follow up the who is made by the protocol. So at the moment we receive a assistential demand, this demand is embraced by this protocol, and then we try to direct and follow up to the specialist team who will be able to take care of this environment. And then we create a clarification environment. And then the follow of the groups and the demands for us to take better profit from the issues that are part of our interaction. We have also the Para-Diplomacy Committee. So I told you before that para-diplomacy is one of the specialities. We have many groups inside of the community. We are many tribes that get together and that decided to assume a role of the Maxi Proaxis, that we are suing all together, creating a strong and universalist structure. So, depending on the situations, in a few moments, we might have the need of this para-diplomacy supporting, creating one environment to diminish the conflicts that we might have here, that we might receive here. So we might not be able, with this committee, we might not be able to solve the problem. This committee is not going to say who is right, who is wrong, but nevertheless will be allow the creation of one environment giving possibilities to everybody to talk about what is disturbing them, what is creating conflicts. So this is in order to be able to hear what is causing the conflict or is causing the situation. And this is natural. We might not create a taboo towards the conflicts. It is quite natural. It's part from the evolutive dynamic. We evolve like this. At the moment we have a lack of comfort, that we feel that we are in sub-level, or that we have been perceiving a specific type of a hard manifestation that might generate a conflict. So this is part of the process, and this helps us to advance in the evolutionary process. So this community needs to be needs to be called for any group that is being or have been experiencing, has been experiencing a specific conflict or a specific process. All the time, focus in the cosmoethical principle in order to be able to minimize the conflict and look for the best solution. In order for us to treat the question and help with our personal recyclings. The other committee that we have is the Planning and Project Committee, which aims the taking care of the supra-institutional projects, helping with us in a way that we can convert all the process with the same goal. So ICNet is one example. Many institutions wanted to develop a software. And at the moment we were able to materialize, at the moment we were able to connect all the ICs together with the consensus-centric committee and the technological committee as well. And many people who are specialists, that shows how strong we can be whenever we are together, how strong we can be whenever we get together. And today we have a fantastic result. The result is here. And then we have the International Subjects Committee, International Relationship Committee. For example, that helped with what we have been holding, what we hold in Strasbourg. So the committee perceived that it was the moment to reinforce the international activities. We need to get ready. We need to get prepared for, we need to get qualified to be able to divulgate the our science and our investigation on other languages. So what we need to understand is the comprehension from another holotosinic shape. We have to understand that conscienciology science were created in a cultural holotosine, inside a cultural shape, inside a cultural base. So at the moment I am spreading this or bringing the conscienciological science towards other languages and other countries, I need to understand the structure of other cultures for me to be able to divulgate everything that we are researching. We know we have the comfort, 99 and 1%, That's why we want to qualify ourselves. We can't do a literal translation. We need to do an interpretation. We need to understand in order to be able to translate. In terms of international subjects, we need to discover, we need to amplify the focus And we know we have the maturity to be able to give another step. So the main idea is, as a group, as, as a organized community, what we want is be able to advance with our assistance. And every one of us would have a piece to be part of that. And today we are giving an extra step towards that proposal. So this is the theme that helps me as a general secretary. Nevertheless, those who work are the volunteers. So the epicenter from every assistance that we have are the specialists. We have 12 councils inside UNICIN. We have the Community Council. We have the Inter-Scientific Council. As we are a scientific community, a re-education community, it's very important. The participation of the consensus-centric institutions associated in the Inter-Scientific Council. So this council will bring the guidelines from our scientific production in terms of keeping the quality and keeping the advance of the scientific production. If we are not doing science, we will not be achieving our main goal in terms of becoming scientists and becoming investigators from conscienciology. So this council is made by the people who represent the entire 24 conscienciocentric institutions. So we prefer volunteers that are familiar with conscienciological methodology. Therefore, inside that environment, people would be able to select the best guidelines for those conscienciological practice. So let's analyze that this is a very advanced issue. We give the tool, we give the confidence for those specialists, for them to show us what is the best to do, what are the best guidelines. For example, when you have a specific demand, when, for example, a person is using the entire community as a laboratory. So, for example, if the person is placing the links and talking about the community on Instagram, this is not the best. So we have better guidelines in order that one can use others' research. So we have a protocol for that. We have a project. A project is presented in the inter-scientific committee for them to study this research process, research project. So in a way that inside the inter-scientific council, they are going to be able to orientate this research project in order to be able to help to achieve the main goal of the research. Many people, many of us are connected with a specific scientific knowledge that we have been studying before, and we want to amplify, we want to use our knowledge. So what do we do? What should we do? Because if I am going to do research, and if I have a specific object that I aim to research, I might not reach a specific conclusion or not. So we might even reach the idea that while the project was very well structured, the problem was not well done. So whenever people who are representing the conscienciological committee, it's important to know that the extra-physical environment is also composed by evolutiologists, who are the specialists. So let's see how serious is this job. So because they are going to define the parapoliticals and the political areas and subjects for those specific research. So this is one environment that every institutions, they have the same equivalent weight. So in a way that we can reach a scientific goal, and they are going to define the um, community, the political of the community. So whenever this team, whenever this group go back as a volunteer, they now are going to act with with a ego from a para diplomat, because acting as para diplomats, they are going to be able to implement the para political that was defined. So it is important to understand that the volunteers are not representing themselves. They are also not there representing the conscienciological institutions. They are representing the multidimensional connection. And then we have also the Para-Pedagogy Council. So the interscientific is the scientific production, the best practice. And the para-pedagogy are the best practice to divulgate those research. They are going to take care of the consensual. So in a way that they can understand that we are all We are all the time qualifying ourselves. So we are still not free consciousness. Perhaps the free consciousness is our goal as facilitators of the assistential process, as I see the conscienciological teachers, instructors. So we don't teach, but we can show using our example that things are possible. So folks can see that by talking about my casuistic, we can show our example. And due to our personal example, we can create a field, a multidimensional field in a way that people who are in a learning condition, they might be able to do the exercise of looking towards himself or herself, choosing the best way, all the time using the cosmoethic compass in the evolutionary process. So the Parapedagogy Council represents the 24 consciocentric institutions that are specialists into this subject. And it is important to reinforce that the councils, they can create so they can create, they are allowed to create and to write and to establish reports to help, as we can use the example that in many courses, why we create, why this need were created. Because, for example, we are 24 institutions. So a person, one student arrived here, and then this student wanna do a course to fundament conscienciology. So he goes to one institution, and then he needs to do another 23 other institutions and courses in other 23 institutions. So this is not the ideal. The best is to guarantee the best profit from the student. So the main goal of us writing reports is not creating difficulties. It is not create problems. On the other hand, it's to create the possibilities to qualify, to give a better profit from the students, to have, to acquire better information, to be able to understand better. So if he is, if he's been doing, if he's part of a course that has UNICIN stamp. So for example, IIPC accept a course with a UNICIN stamp. So this student, whenever he is being part of this course, a student like this will be able to reach and to be part of ECP1, which is Advanced 1 course. Another represented council that we have is the Inter-Volunteering Council. So one of the values of our community are the volunteers. So the consensus-centric institutions, they have the entire structure of its specialities. So those who act are the volunteers who are acting inside the speciality under the cosmoethical and conscientiological paradigm. So the Intervolunteering Council, it's a council that is specialized in the intrusion or the intruding volunteerings, which is not something simple. We have this virtual reality today. We have many volunteers who are acting online. And this has been asking from the areas one specific follow-up. Because inside the consensus-centric institutions, we have the intruded geopolitic. So we need to support our group. Whenever a conscientiological volunteer in the conditions that we are living today, whenever he is acting in another organized institution, so he also will need a much more, a better effort to maintain this security. I can say that there are activities, there are UNICIN activities that I do not do, I don't do from my home. I'd rather do the activities from inside the consensus-centric institutions, because we know how important it is. We know how strong the extra physical supports are inside the consensus-centric institutions. So this inter-volunteer council is more dedicated, because now in this moment we are all spread. We receive every day the SOMA bulletins. We know that the fear of that is one of the main fears of the humanity. So the holotosenic pressure in the planet towards getting sick, towards the DSOMA, towards the security, because folks are not sure, they are insecure, they are afraid of losing their jobs, they are far from families, they are far from their partners. So all that generates an emotional instability. And we are not immune towards the extra physical reality, towards this reality in the planet. So today the Inter-Volunteering Council is working a lot. And if you have any specific problems, any specific difficulty inside your consensus-centric institution, do not think twice on asking the volunteering area inside your consensus-centric institution. It is important to understand that we are really an evolutionary group, and we choose that. Of course, we are learning, we are getting together, we are qualifying together with all the consensus-centric and consensuological advanced and research. Another council from UNICIN, it is um, a legal council. So it is not made by the 24th consensus-centric institutions, but nevertheless, the legal council is made by people who are graduated in law. So what are the legal assessment, legal help that consensus-centric institutions need? So, for example, they might need to review the internal regiment. They might need to review the statute from the consensus-centric institution. We have international laws, so we need to implement a few specific laws in our activities, in our data records. So CIAJUC is the council who gives specific support. Even if it's important to reinforce here, no, even if inside the consensus-centric institution, we can count with lawyers, but perhaps they might not have the view of the interassistential paradiplomacy, So this person might not have the experience of more than 15 years acting in a legal point of view or in a para-law point of view. So CIAJUC has been created even before UNICIN. CIAJUC and CINEL, they had been created much before UNICIN. So the expertise from those groups are quite important. So even if the consensus-centric institution has a lawyer who is able to help in order to review the statute, it's important that before we vote that in an assembly, this needs to go towards CIAJUC, because this record might have a clause that is not adequate, a clause that deals with non-material patrimony of the institution. So all those clauses, they need to be there, they need to be written there, because this is a multi-dimensional, institutional and multi-dimensional position. When we had the experience, because I started my volunteer with CIAJUC. So we had the opportunity back then to hire a lawyer to create a record, a statute for this consensus-centric institution, but that was created not connected with the main clauses. So it is important to validate everything that is anchored in UNICIN. Another council is the financial council, which is also we also have people from every consensus-centric institution, but it's very important to have there in this council people who are able to analyze the financial planning and who are economists. Of course, the assistance of the council is connected with the commitment of the volunteer. So if the council has no volunteers, or if the volunteers are not being able to be part of the council, so that council will have a gap. So what is important to understand the structure, it's the way we thought about UNICIN is that the community advance at the same measure that people get committed. So eventually, or sometimes we look the community and think, well, this might be better, but what we need to do, what we need to think is that what I could do, what I might do to qualify that. So perhaps there is a specific council that I can be there helping with better practice in order to qualify the conscientiology science. So conscientiology science is a science, and it might be spread or divulgated by any person around the planet. Especially now in this new phase, with this new online phase, we see many things. We have people who are talking about different techniques and different conscientiological activities, but what differentiate us is that we aim to promote inside our structure guidelines that qualify ourselves. They guarantee a level of follow-up in a way that we will not sleep like we had slept in the past. For example, we might so for example, we need to analyze, for example, let's suppose you find a person who is talking about a proexis under the conscientiological paradigm, but the instructor is receiving money for that. So the instructor is being benefit from this situation. So we need to analyze that inside our proposal, we have the non-monetization principle, because we don't want to create dependence. We want to give autonomy. So the person who receives, a person who acquires money from that, the person generates a system of dependence from the financial results that are achieved. So it is really important for us to understand the proposal of us being organized as a community. Another council that we have is the ICIS. It's a council that all the managers from the conscientiocentric institutions, they get together. The institutions, they deliberate about the community. So the issues that are today being debated, so the actuations, for example, the integrated action, how they are going to use the financial resources that we are acquiring using the integrated action. As for example, tomorrow we have Luciano Mello course from which is named the from democracy to conscientiocracy, and we invite everybody to be part of that, to divulgate the activities, for us to see how the researches from Luciano Mello have been held. So it is important, for example, to understand that whenever a group decides to constitute a new consensus-centric institutions, this group needs to propose the construction now in front of their peers, their colleagues. So this material, this is held for the IC's council, and then we debate if we really need to constitute a consensus-centric institution. Because sometimes the public, the assistant public does not justify, or for example, this specific specialty has been taken care in another institution. So being able to build and support a consensus-centric institution needs a lot of job. So what we all needs to take care to be able to maintain the functional health. So this beginning of the work is validated due to the IC's council. Once is authorized, then there are other steps that this group is going to need to follow in a way that this new group would be acquiring all the informations that needed. And then we might understand that this is not the case to create a consensus-centric institution. And then we give the feedback for the group, saying, like, for example, in this moment, we understand that this is not the best moment to create a consensus-centric institution. And this is something that we can reinforce. We are experiencing a very specific moment, a very atypical moment. So usually under conditions like this, we avoid to take big decisions. No? So we are experiencing a huge opportunity. We are isolated. We are experiencing a paradox because we are isolated, but we are also things happening in a very accelerated way. But we need to recognize that we are in a moment of restriction. So we are crossing an unstable and a pathological moment. So not everything is able to be done. We are going to do what we can. So we are not in a wide freedom condition. And this is a factor that we need to have in mind. We can, of course, take huge profits from that. And I perceive that the community has been advancing a lot due to the pandemic. But on the other hand, we are not having our parapsychic dynamics, and this has a specific impact. We struggle the consequences. It's not because we do not live without dynamic. It is not because of this, but we have to see that the dynamics, they potentialize a certain level of the intrusion, because they have been they had been creating a multidimensional and a para-dimensional structure. And this is part of our reality. No, we need to consider that factor whenever we are facing conditions from our day by day. Another specific council for UNICIN is the Epicenter Council, who are the specialists, who are the intruders specialists from our community. So folks who are integrated, the EPICONS Council, they need to be validated. And the EPICONS Council, among all the actuations, they follow and they follow up the best practice of the energo parapsychic activities that have been held inside inside the community. Let's suppose I want to create a specific dynamic. I should not just create a group and start doing. So there are reports that would be guiding those activities. With para-security, we might consider lots of bureaucracy, but it's not. Because we as consensus-centric institutions, we have responsibilities towards our students, towards our volunteers, and towards our researchers that are part of our activities. So one thing is me doing a personal activity, while in which I do inside my limits something specific. Another thing is doing one activity, doing an open activity in a name of a consensus-centric institutions. We know that we might have specific consequences. We might have toxinic intrusions and many parapsychic phenomena and many situations that have been reported already. And this is a responsibility of our community. Therefore, when consensus-centric institutions get associated with UNICIN, this association is being able to recognize that the epicenter, EPICONS Council has its obligations. So it is important to validate the activity towards the EPICONS Council. No, of course, the activities can be held as long as we have a EPICON who is responsible for taking care in order to validate the cosmoethic level of their managers, so on and so forth. So in a way that we will not face an spurious process in a consensus-centric activity. We have also the Securities Council. So whenever we talk about the security, we are focused on our consensuological condos. We have also, this council is a mixed council. So we have a few consensus-centric institutions that they have campus, and others that don't have campus. So it is a council that is achieved according to the moment. and it will be able to give the guidelines, and they are connected with the issues that are all the time being held in order for us to take care. And we have a Invisible Colleges Council. The invisible colleges are, they come from, this is not new, the invisible college is not new because this idea comes from the Intraphysical Society. But nevertheless, the invisible colleges, they aim the collective construction of the treatise of the speciality. So the activity from this non-formal organization is the scientific conscienciological research. It is not to divulgate. So the main goal of the invisible colleges, it is not spreading science or divulgating science is not the main activity from the invisible colleges. The invisible colleges achieve or have the main goal from the invisible colleges are creating and being able to materialize a treatise. So the invisible colleges, they have a more focused structure, a smaller structure. So we have to take care about the scientific divulgation, but it's important to reinforce that the scientific divulgations, they happen due to the consciocentric institution, inside the consciocentric institutions. So there are many important structures inside the scientific communities, and the invisible colleges, they have a very peculiar way of functioning, but they are connected with in the UNICIN system, and they observe all the guidelines that we have been talking. So let me analyze here the CINEL. CINEL is the Interassistential Council related with the neologisms. So whenever we work with verbiage, we have neologisms. So every name of every verbiage name, they are neologisms. So the main goal, the goal would be that every verbiage, before being done, every author would be presenting, submitting to the CINEL. No, so I like CINEL. I miss CINEL. I like the activities of the CINEL because the debates are very profound. Because what differentiates us from other activities that we see in the society is the neologism, because the transparency, the context from a neologism that has the capacity of synthesize one advanced idea is something that we give lots of value. It's something that we validate a lot, because this neologism connect us straight with the intermissive course. So creating neologism is not just connecting syllables. It exists an enormous respect in a way that the neologism will be able to represent, in fact, the main idea that has been proposed. So this council is, as I mentioned before, was created before UNICIN. So they have a high level of productivity. So if you want to contact CNEL, you might send an email to our protocol that we can redirect straightforward towards CNEL. So CNEL can count with many different people, people who even speak different languages, who are able to help. And then we have the Intercommunication Council, which is a mixed council. They are made by people who represent the communication area, and also for people who are specialized in the communication area. The communication is one area that is really broad. We aim the conscienciological tri-dotation, which is the parapsychism, intellectuality, and communicability. Communicability is one of the attributes that we have more bias in terms of experiencing and using that. Parapsychism is the multidimensional community. Intellectuality will give you a brain dictionary, will give you contextualization of the concepts that you will be able to apply in your communication. So the communication exists at least in the minimal with two consciousness, two people, no? Or one thing is me with myself, but I cannot call that communication. So at the moment you have a person who is emitting information and receiving information, there is a whole universe that might happen. Homeostatic, positives, or even nosographics. So a conscienciological communication, we see that today in SOCIN, in the Intraphysical Society, we are experiencing the advanced of many techniques, but the conscienciological community has a cosmoetic base, or a cosmoetic port, cosmoetic structure. So not everything is accepted in the conscienciological paradigm. We know that in the community we have a certain level of manipulation. So the council had been able to create a manual of conscienciological community, which is a very nice practice for us to observe whenever we communicate events, whenever we communicate conscientiocentric events. There are words, images that we should not use as whenever we deal with conscientiological paradigms. And then we have a conscientiocentric companies council, which is a council that has been developing a project for many years. And this project had been amplified due to the idea of creating a conscientiological ecosystem. So we have many ideas, many products, and we had, so far, we had many conscientiological institutions. So the view of this specific council is to see conscientiology as something unique. Because for the students, no, the conscientiology is conscientiology. No, sometimes the new students they cannot understand why so many names. So whenever we achieve and whenever we start as a volunteer, we start to little by little to understand that. So these companies, conscientiocentric companies, are helping to due to the pandemic, and then we can perceive and see that how the external situations they help us to reflect, to qualify our process. And it is nice to perceive that this project has been started a few years ago, and this project has been clicked very well with the moment that we are living. And soon you guys will have new information and new ideas coming from this council. So the structure of the UNICIN, so this gear of the UNICIN, we have an intercooperation collegiate, which is the maximus place, maximal instance, maximal layer, patamar. So let's suppose we have a specific subject that is something completely new inside the community. For example, being able to elect a general secretary. And recently we had an intercooperation collegiate where every volunteer can vote. Every formal volunteer can vote. Because we have to understand the difference. There are people who are researchers, but they don't have a conscientiological bound. He or she, they still did not formalize the connection with a specific institution. So now recently, October 30 or 31st, we had an online collegiate. So IEC and the technical team were able to present a proposal to validate the new place of the cultural mega center. The mega center, the cultural mega center, were pre-located in specific addresses. That was not a shared decision because IEC were responsible back then for the construction. Nevertheless, due to this moment and because of the pandemics, a few suggestions to changing this localization and the technical, when they analyzed, they validated. They validate and they decided that the cultural mega center, the new place might be better or should be better inside the Discernmentum campus. So it was very nice collegiate. We had a very nice opportunity of the commission, and we were able to validate this new location because due to the big majority of the community, and it was also an opportunity for folks who are far from Cognopolis Foz. They were able to participate from a collective deliberation. So what I think it's important to analyze is that the entire structure for UNICIN, which is the base of the governance of the community as a whole, it's a structure based on collective decisions, being coming from specialists or coming from institutional institutional representatives. So inside the mindset of the conscienciological structures, even being a legal structure in a model, in a social model, we have the conscientiocentric deliberation. We create, we deliberate. Of course, we know that there is a difference between the theory and the practice. There is a little distance between both, because this is strictly related with our group maturity. So whenever we act as a volunteer inside a conscientiocentric institution, it is important to realize that we are part of a scientific community. And even being structured as specific institutions, we are connected in the group maxi proaxis. Conscienciology is only one. So we are part of a university of conscienciology. But as opposed of having a rectory, we have UNICIN. As opposed of having a rectory that would be a place, an intraphysical society structure that will take care of the scientific methodology, we have an intra-scientific council. So we have an intercommunication council, and every conscientiocentric institution represents a specialty as it is a specific subject inside the university. So we have this interdisciplinarity. So whenever I am going to be part of a specific area, it's quite natural that other specialities would be connecting together. So if we think like a university, for example, it's very natural to understand our integration. It is worth it to connect. It is worth it to think because we have the areas of attendance, scientific, divulgation areas. We have many free activities to take care of the public in general that look for us. So we are really a university. Nevertheless, our structure is segmented in consensus-centric institutions or even in super-institutional institutions. But it's important to reflect even more about how we can amplify our group actuation once we understand better our main goal. So let's imagine a university. A university has many laboratories that take care of courses. The laboratories, they are shared, they are integrated. And we might reach that. And I think I understand that this experience qualify us to give this new step. For me, we are arriving in the closure of our activities. I was not able to follow the YouTube channel. I'm sorry I was not able to answer. I want to really reinforce. I want to thank you very much, the ISEC team, and who is giving an upgrade in our activity, being able to do this simultaneous translation. I want to reinforce I want to say thank you very much to CIEC, and I hope you really liked and you were able to understand the ICCC governance. And I wanted you to invest and to invite, I wanted to invite you whenever you are in Foz do Iguaçu, please feel free to visit us. We are here to being able to offer the union and the connection of all the volunteer in a way that we can achieve the proposal of the intermissive course. I want to say thank you very much and see you soon.